Hello, Martin. Delighted to be chatting with you, a fellow writer, going to be published by the new Lunar Eden. Myself with Steve Evans here.
Yeah, pleasure
Hi,
to be
Martin.
here.
You all right?
Yeah, and nice to see you, Steve.
Yeah, excellent. Good to meet you. So, how's life? Is it sunny Torquay today, or is it pleasant there, as it's known as the Riviera of England?
Well, yes. Well, it was a very damp Riviera first thing this morning when I took the dogs out, but yes, it
Yeah,
was
we've had a bit.
throwing it down
Go on.
first thing.
All right. Yeah, we've had a fairly pleasant day. A little bit chilly, but it's been nice. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I believe you've got 11 grandkids. Sounds like a bit of a big family there. So you need a bit of a lottery win to spare to find all the money for Christmas and birthday presents. Then.
Oh yeah, there's a birthday every 5 minutes. It feels like, yeah, and to say Christmas is something else altogether. I mean, when they all come round the house at the same time, it's like the circus has come to town.
I bet. I don't know how you do it. I certainly couldn't. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Martin, before we talk about your writing, which we're going to focus on, tell us about your past experience as a mobile DJ.
Well, yeah, I did that for over 20 years. So
Wow.
I worked as a mobile. Yeah,
Yeah.
so before that, I worked for many years as a bus driver, oddly enough,
Yeah.
and I had to give that up through ill health,
Yeah.
and sort of fell into the DJing, which is something I enjoyed doing as a part-time thing, and started doing that full time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I came to do that.
Okay. Uh, Steve, have you ever been on the road as your life as a DJ, as a radio presenter? Have you ever done that? Gone out and about?
No, oddly enough, I fancied doing some bus driving, but it never actually happened. And then I looked into mobile DJing and all that, and it's just one of those things that never happened for me. So I ended up, as you know, doing radio for the last 15 years. But let it take a back seat for the time being. I'm just having some time out for the next couple of months before I think about going back to radio. But no, I've never done mobile DJing. I almost dabbled in it, but I changed my mind. No,
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
an
very
awful
quite
lot of
unsociable hours, isn't it, Martin?
yeah. There's an awful lot of late nights and driving around the countryside, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not just sort of walking in and playing music for 4 hours. There's and a couple of hours before, a couple of hours after, and yeah, and it's not all
yeah.
beer and skittles.
No, I don't mind the driving. It's just all those late nights, I suppose, and unsociable times. And I
Yeah.
suppose back in the day, I was wanting to go out myself and enjoy myself and have a few beers. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, so it didn't really take off for me. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Well, no, especially being sort of Devon and Cornwall, where I was working mostly, there's an awful lot of country lanes, and when you're sort of hauling I had a Mercedes Sprinter long wheelbase high roof, and you're
Yeah,
driving down the road, touching the hedge on either side, grass going up the middle of the lane.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, trying to get to some exclusive wedding venue. It takes the sting out of it a bit.
yeah. I
Oh,
bet. We've read on your excellent website, martinjbest.com, that you're a full-time writer. So is that it now? You're just doing writing full-time, no other work?
Yep, that's right. I've been doing that for 10 years now.
Wow, must be fairly successful then.
Well, I wasn't to start with, to be fair. I Yeah, it was a very steep learning curve at the beginning, but yeah, it I did manage to turn it around and sort of scraped by.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your writing. And do you have a set place and time when you sit each day and dedicate that to writing, or do you just do it as and when? I mean, bear in mind you've got that many kids and grandkids floating around. It's probably
true.
difficult, or do you lock yourself away somewhere?
Well, I'm pretty much left to my own devices during the day, and I write pretty much all day, every day. I don't really stop, to be brutally honest. I go on until about 9 o'clock at night. I start after I've walked the dogs in the morning, and I mean, being at home, I do find myself doing other little chores like the washing, and because my wife works. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Tough one. Yeah.
Busy
Oh, well,
life.
that's pretty much full time, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just changing the subject slightly. Our good friend and regular guest on these podcasts, Michelle Colbert, she told us
Oh,
how much
Michelle.
she enjoyed your Baby Farmer's Ghost book. Looks like
Yeah.
horror is your choice of genre for writing. Tell us about this. Were you brought up with sort of horror and ghost stories?
Well, ghost stories certainly, because I actually grew up in a haunted house.
Oh,
So, yeah. Yes, the first 12 years of my life, I did live in an actively haunted house, so that's where my interest in that comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gave me what has become a lifelong fascination with the occult and supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that in your bio somewhere about this haunted house. So, did you have loads of experiences and things you couldn't explain then, or?
Oh yeah. To be fair, it wasn't the Amityville horror. It wasn't. Yeah. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have stayed there for 12 years. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, my mother wouldn't have stayed there 12 years as it was. I mean, my father resolutely refused to believe that any of it was happening. But my mother, my sister, and I all saw full-bodied apparitions there. Things would move,
Wow.
things would disappear and then reappear. You'd hear noises that you couldn't explain. It was a strange place to live. And after we did move out, in the next 5 years, it changed hands 3 times. Nobody stayed there for very long after we'd left it. Yeah, it was quite an interesting place, shall we say.
I can imagine there's a great cure for constipation.
Yeah, definitely something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely something there if it's going through owners that quickly, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, my parents bought it from a very elderly lady who was a practicing spiritualist, and she held seances in the house.
Ooh.
So we think perhaps that's what had triggered the activity. And I firmly believe that I'd seen her there. Not that she died in the house, but I think she was still attached to it. But so yeah, it had quite an interesting history, you know.
Scary.
It is, yes. Yeah, it would be definitely a little bit scary, that, I think, even for me. Yeah, it'd be a bit weird to be living somewhere like that and not being able to explain it, because everything's logical to me, but it wouldn't be in a place like that, would it?
Yeah, and I think that's what triggered my interest in it, because I was looking for explanations. You know, I'm trying to find reasons for why it was going on.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it'd probably been the same. Actually, you'd want to know, wouldn't you? So
Yeah,
you'd look
absolutely.
into it, and then you've done well there, getting it down on paper, and away you go. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So tell us about the Carolyn Hunter stories then. Moving on a little bit.
Yeah. Well, they're a sort of a young adult themed spin-off from my Ghost Hunter series. Carolyn Hunter was a character from that series.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
And although the Ghost Hunter series had come to a natural conclusion, I wasn't quite finished with her as it was. And so she was part of the ghost hunting team as a sort of more minor character. And I thought, well, I'll try my hand at the young adult version of it. And the Baby Farmer's Ghost, the first one, that it's based on a very real Victorian phenomena, which was baby farming. And one of the most notorious baby farmers lived not a mile from where I live now. And if you're not familiar with baby farming,
no, not at all. What's it mean?
There is a great problem in Victorian times with illegitimate children.
Oh, yeah.
And the baby farmer would volunteer for a fee to care for illegitimate children, which in theory sounds fine. But what the less scrupulous ones did
Yeah.
was take on quite large numbers of these illegitimate children and then either systematically starve them,
What?
drug them so that they wouldn't be a nuisance,
Yeah.
or outright kill them. And some of them would even offer to what they called put them away and be paid to actually murder them.
What's hell?
And say the lady called Charlotte Windsor, who lived, as I say, about a mile from where I live now, she was actually caught and convicted as a murderer for killing a baby, and she was one of the very few baby farmers who was actually caught and convicted.
Oh,
That's awful, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, it's fascinating.
It was absolutely rife in Victorian times. It was a very real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of the Magdalene sisters in Ireland. You know, the nunnery where the illegitimate babies are born and they're sort of hidden away from society. But not for that. But I didn't realize it was so rife.
Yeah, well, no, it was a massive problem, and of course the police didn't have the same sort of resources that our police service have now. So they would find a body and have no sort of forensic clue as to where it had come from.
Yeah,
I mean, in Torquay, we're bang on the coast, and they used to ditch the babies into the sea.
what? What's it?
Yeah, oh no, it was a dreadful situation.
Yeah.
So I would say I took the inspiration from that and thought, well, that would make a horrible ghost.
Yeah, not out.
Yeah,
it's right.
Society's changed so much now. Now it's it's not like classed as a sin, is it? It's not taboo. Subject to someone having an illegitimate child, someone who's not married. It's okay now. It's accepted.
That's it. But back then, the women couldn't get a job or anything.
They were sending children up chimneys, weren't they, as well, at the same time? Chimney sweeps.
Oh, crikey, yeah. Down mines, up chimneys, you name it. Yeah.
Wow, that's heavy. We both connected with the excellent Patricia at Luna Eden Publishers. Both of us after being indie writers. Tell us how you connected with Luna Eden and how being traditionally published matters to you.
Well, say it was partly due to the success of the Baby Farmer's Ghost.
Brilliant.
And Luna Eden were asking for young adult fantasy books. So I pitched the Baby Farmer. Yeah. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog cold.
No problem. Is it a horror book or is it a fantasy?
In the current parlance, it's sort of paranormal urban fantasy. So it does sort of fall under the auspices of fantasy, really. It's not so much horror, although there is an element of that from, as you can guess, from what I've just told you. Yeah. So I pitched it as a sort of young adult fantasy book. Yeah. And was lucky enough to, be asked to provide sample chapters and then the entire thing. Yeah. And after a bit of debate, we came to an agreement.
Brilliant. Have you always tried to connect with a traditional publisher? Or did you just start off as an indie writer and think, right, that's it, I'm going to self-publish?
Yeah, I made up my mind that I was going to remain independent. I'd made no attempt to do it before that.
Oh, that's unusual.
Was the first time I'd ever tried.
Yeah, wow, that's 100% success rate. I think I've said often, and so many writers we speak to, they send off, up to 100, speculation type of letters to publishers. Written this book, are you interested? And after time, you don't get a reply, or 99% of them say, yeah, great book, but not for us right now. Try somebody else. So extremely lucky.
Yeah. I know. I've heard that many times. Like you say, you pitch these things and never hear anything about it. Yeah. Yeah, you're lucky to get refused, as it were.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that being extremely lucky. Well, that sounds as though it's sort of disqualifying. There could be the fact that, it's an excellently written book and you're an excellent writer. Not trying to sound patronising.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I'm very pleased with it. It's an unusual book. And I think when Patricia at Luna Eden first read it, she said, yes, I like it, but I'm not sure that it's for us because it's so different from anything else that we publish.
Yeah.
But we came to an understanding.
Yeah. Had you ever heard of anything like that, Steve? That baby farming?
Well, not really. No, it's similar to you. You know, the one in Ireland, the Magdalene sisters. I've heard about people taking babies in and then maybe selling them on or doing whatever. And some of that was a bit disturbing, but not quite this baby farming to the extreme where they were getting killed. You know, that's
that's horrendous.
Yeah, something else. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. So you two have both been published around the same time with Lunar Eden, or were one of you before the other?
Mine's just about.
Aren't they?
No, Terry was first, and my first ones will be coming out sort of next spring.
Carolyn Hunter, then, Carolyn Hunter Stories. She's grown legs as she moved on to other things, I assume, yeah.
Yeah, basically, she was a part of the ghost hunting team in the Ghost Hunter series.
Right.
And now she's sort of doing it on her own. Well, she now has an accomplice as well, because the young lady that she helps out in the first story gets a taste for it. And in the second book, there's the two of them taking on another case. So, yeah.
Okay, so what about the Ghost Hunter series? Is that done and dusted now? And you pretty much said you've moved on from that, yeah?
Yes, it's a 6-book series, and it come to a natural conclusion. Yeah, so I don't know whether you feel the same, but I've read series of books, and sometimes you find there's 10 or 12 or sometimes even more, and you think there's really enough.
Oh, it's getting a bit thin.
They should stop now. Yeah.
I'll come across that.
You're best off being hung on at the end, hung around waiting for the next one that's not going to happen, and then you're like, it piques your interest to keep it there. But once you get to 10 and 11, it can sometimes get a little bit, I suppose. Yeah.
Makes me think of Sherlock Holmes. You know, didn't Moriarty kill him off? And then there was a public outcry saying, bring him back. We want more.
That's absolutely true. But there was also a comment in I believe it was in the Times or one of the similar newspapers of the day, saying that Sherlock Holmes was never the same after he died.
Brilliant. True. Just saying the subject again. We've connected on Twitter and Facebook. Which social media platform works best for promoting your work? And how important do you think it is for an author to have their own website?
Well, I found it useful. I don't know whether I've sort of sold much via it, but so I think it is important to have a platform where you are sort of displaying your wares and telling people a bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Talking social media, I found Twitter to be more effective with marketing, or X as it is now.
Yeah.
Although I do use Facebook to an extent.
Yeah.
But other people say the opposite. So
I found that, Martin. I found on Facebook, because my novel's set back in 1976, and there's a load of different Facebook groups. There's a group there called Friends of 1976, the Summer of 76, and there's different districts in Liverpool where my novel's set, where I've publicised and promoted and made a few sales from these various groups on Facebook, more so than Twitter. So yeah, you're right. I found that better for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think when you find a niche like that, then you can sort of exploit that, which is, sorry, that might not be the right word, but
promote yourself.
Promote yourself. Yeah. Gain a little traction.
That sounds better. Yeah.
So is this similar, Terry? You remember? Is this similar books to what Tasha Brown did?
It is. Do you know what? We had a chat outside of this podcast last week with Martin. I was telling Martin about Tasha Brown. She's written a whole series within the realms. I think the realms they're called. I think their novels.
That rings a bell. They were quite scary from what I remember.
They were.
She told us.
That's right. Yeah. I'm just looking back now to Can't find the title.
It's
No,
been a while ago since we
it's
spoke
been a
to
while.
her. Long
Yeah.
ago, yeah.
But she was telling us like her stories are based on her own personal experiences, and actually she lives currently in a haunted house.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about writing, for the first time, someone wants to write a book. What advice do you give them, since you're a professional full-time writer?
No pressure.
No, none at all.
No pressure, of course. Yeah.
Well, I think to an extent, certainly, you've got to write about what you know, or have a very good imagination. And if you're going to go down the independent route, be prepared for things like marketing and publicizing yourself, because you can spend as much time doing that and considerable amounts of money putting yourself out there. And I know from personal experience that it certainly caught me by surprise when I first started doing this, because you think, well, yeah, I've written a book, I've slapped it out there, and there it is, and why is nobody buying it?
Yeah.
And then you think, well, yeah, I've now got to market it, and now I've got to spend money to get it in front of the reading public. And that can be quite a big shock if you're not expecting it.
Yeah, true enough, isn't it? But you're not the first one to say, write about what you know and get it down on paper. Yeah. If you know your subject, that's the thing to do. Don't pick something you don't know about.
Yeah.
Because you'll trip up.
Oh, yeah, because you can be caught out in no time, because someone will know.
Excellent advice for a new writer.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah.
But Martin, looks like time's caught up with us. But it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and let's keep in touch as we have been.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Good. Nice one. All right.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for now. Cheers, Martin. Thanks for your time.
Anytime at all, Terry. Pleasure to meet you, Steve.
Yeah, and you, Martin. Lovely.
Cheers. Thanks.